I was failing as an antique booth dealer until I followed these 4 simple steps. And instead of you suffering just like I did, I want to help you. Now, I've had my personal antiquing business for about 4 years now, and I've been through some ups and downs. But with these 4 tips, I want to help you out. And one quick caveat, there is an extra bonus tip at the end, and I would say it's probably the most important. Tip number 1, identify and find the right niche, whatever you call it. Now, in talking about identifying your niche, and regarding niche, I'm talking about number 1, find something that you enjoy, but 2, also identify something that you want to sell to others. Also identify who is that others you're going to sell to. Now, for me personally, is mid-century modern furniture, and I try to sell to those with a lower to mid-tier price budget. Now, for others, it might be Pyrex, it might be colonial furniture. Identify what you want to sell and identify who you are trying to sell it to. Now, several niches include Pyrex. Like I said, I'm mid-century modern furniture, colonial furniture. You can sell cases, books, whatever you're interested in. But the most important part is identify who you are trying to sell to. Once you find who and what you want to sell, boom, you are rolling, because that is the most important piece of this whole equation. You cannot skip out. So I would say spend majority, probably about 50% of your time in this first stage. It will work magic in the future. Now, once you identify your niche, tip number 2 is find a location or figure out how you want to sell. Like I said, for me, mine is mid-century modern furniture, selling to that low to mid-tier budget buyer. And so for me, the perfect location is to have a small antique booth in a small antique store. Now, if you want to sell Pyrex to the buyer across the world or across the country, you know your best selling spot potentially could be eBay, because you can reach a greater audience doing that. Or you know what? Maybe you just want to sell thrifty clothes. Maybe your best spot, or maybe you should start selling on Instagram, where you can showcase, you can wear the piece, you can show how it fits. All this ties closely back to your niche, identifying what you want to sell and who you want to sell to. Now, I've seen people selling pretty much from brick and mortar stores to strictly online. That does not matter, but you have to identify your target audience and get these pieces in front of them as easy as possible. Now, another factor in finding the right location is identifying how much you want to pay. What is your budget? For me, I have an antique booth in an antique mall, and I pay a monthly rental fee, and then they take a percentage out of my total sales for the building. Now, that could work for you, but if you're like, hey, I don't want to pay that much, or I don't want to pay a fee monthly, eBay might be your way to go, because you can pay per item. Or if you don't want to pay at all, use Instagram, use social media. I've seen a lot of people grow an antique business strictly off of social media because they have a large social media following, and it does not cost money to sell on there. All you gotta do is post a piece, reach out, or figure out how you want the buyer to buy, and there you go. Now, when talking about location, I think people get confused because they always think, what physical location can I put my space at? And that's an important part of the formula. But if your item, if your niche does not require you to have a physical location, don't put one there. Now, if you're like, I want a brick and mortar, I want a physical location, please do me a favor. Research the areas you're looking for and identify who you are trying to sell. There it is. I'm going back to that, who I'm trying to sell to. But identify who you're trying to sell to and put your location or find a location close to that target audience. It helps. Now, if you're in the antique business, this leads me to tip number 3. You gotta make money. And the way to do it is having a proper sourcing strategy. You don't want to mess this up. Now, for me, I have found, and you can write this down, this could be free for you. I have found that if you do not pay more than 60% of the final asking price on a piece that you're purchasing. For instance, if I know in the back of my head I can charge $100 on a piece of furniture, I do not pay more than 60. That gives me a 40% buffer that if I want to fluctuate or move the price, I have a buffer to do so. I find that this is the perfect frame and perfect equation for buying great pieces of furniture and flipping them for an extreme profit. Now, other sourcing tips for you is number one, talk to people and figure out how you can get wholesale deals on items. For me, this is called the plug. Identify someone who you can reach out to and you can source items for cheaper than you normally would buy them. Now, I know this may be super difficult, but the more you get out there, the more you talk, the more you put your fillers out there in the world, you will find these pieces. If you're sourcing, find that person or identify that place where you can get great deals and you can buy at large wholesale prices. Now, going back to sourcing, I got to go back to my niche and identify not only what I'm trying to buy, but who I'm trying to sell to. If I'm looking, for me personally, if I'm looking for mid-century modern furniture, I'm trying to source from a mid-century modern dealer. And if I'm selling to that lower to mid-tier buyer, I want to find cheaper mid-century modern furniture. Who would have thought that? Now, if I was trying to sell to that buyer with a larger budget, maybe individual mid-century modern enthusiast, or even a movie studio, then I would be looking and sourcing for that higher end, perfect tier mid-century modern furniture. This all goes back to identifying that niche and identifying who you're trying to sell to. Tip number 4, don't be afraid to sell. There were 4 people in a store and they all asked the wise man, "How are you so successful?" And he looked left and he looked right and he contributed to one thing, and that was he sold too quick. And that is my tip for you. Always sell quick. Now, when you're looking at me saying that makes no sense, what do you mean always sell quick? That is, if there is an opportunity, if someone gives you an opportunity to buy your item at a slightly reduced rate, sell it. Please do me a favor and don't wait for that end of the rainbow buyer, because if you can continue to sell items, then you can continue to buy items. And if you can continue to buy items, you can continue to make profit. And that is how you have a successful business. So don't be afraid to sell. If someone comes in and says, "Hey, I know you have a $400 price tag on it, but I want to pay $350, sell it. Because trust me, that will work wonders in the long run. You can take that money, you can put it in buying, and you're good to go. All right, now this is the time you've all been waiting for. The last bonus tip that I promise will help you be extremely successful when you have your antique store business. It is run monthly sales. Be willing to put your items on sale. Now, this goes further into creating a perception of a greater deal. It allows people and it allows more foot traffic throughout your booth. If you put your booth knowing that you have that 40% buffer, like I said, and you put a 10% sale, that will do wonders in bringing people not only to your booth, but selling additional items. Everyone loves deals. There is psychology behind it. Every time someone gets a deal or finds that item that they're looking for at a discounted rate, they have endorphins rush through their brain. And you have to play on that. If you're willing to sell a lot of items and be successful in this business, you have to do me a favor and put items on sale and do it in a monthly cadence. Get organized with your sales. If you know that Valentine's Day is coming up, put a sale on 2 weeks before Valentine's Day. Have it end a week after Valentine's Day to bring and drum up business. This has worked for me, and this is probably the second most important thing that I've done that's transformed my business. Now, after all this, you're looking at me and saying, "Yeah, you're not right. Just do me a favor and try it." That's all you got to do. They cost no money to try some of these tips. I'm telling you, it will transform your antique business tenfold. And if you don't, leave a comment down below saying you're incorrect. And you know what? I'll take it. But I'm telling you, I won't be, because these work. I have had my antique booth for over 4 years. I've implemented some of these strategies and it went from 0 to hero. I'm not lying. To the fact that, should I tell you how much? Just know there is an extreme increase in my amount of revenue when I've done these items. When I started this video, I had one goal in mind, and that's to help those either looking to start their own antique business or those looking to transform their own business. And if you can just grab one thing from this video and utilize and implement it, I'm winning, because I am trying to help you all. I've been in your shoes. I've suffered. I've flipped some things around, and now I am here. But if you're interested in finding and locating and videos about locating some of these items, check this video out right here. I go on a wild goose chase and find something pretty epic. And if this video gave you any value, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. And like always, peace.